Hi, I'm Simon Duke, Editor-in-Chief of Feedinfo. Today I'd like to talk to you about Feedinfo's latest report called Animal Nutrition Industry Senior Executive Outlooks for 2022. The report is a collection of industry views addressing some of the trends and challenges faced by the animal nutrition sector. The report also sheds light on various risks and opportunities companies may have to deal with in 2022 and beyond. It is compiled from a series of insight articles which were published in the second half of December 2021. The articles themselves are based on a series of interviews I conducted with 17 animal nutrition industry senior executives. The main theme covered in the report are the digital environment and hybrid working place, the digital boom in the animal nutrition market, mergers and acquisitions, mitigating supply chain risks, the influence of China on global markets, measuring animal welfare, environmental sustainability, and communicating the industry's efforts. And last but not least, I asked the senior executives to work with me together on a new Netflix documentary series to help change how the sector is perceived. On the hybrid workplace theme, today most companies have either implemented or are planning for some kind of hybrid work model that combines in-office and remote work. With a high number of infections still occurring globally and new variants like Omicron coming into play, it is evident that the pandemic is not yet over. With this in mind, I asked the senior executives how they envisage the operating and management of businesses in the future. In other words, is the so-called Zoom boom fading away? Regarding digitalization, digital technologies have played a big part during the pandemic in keeping us all connected. The use of digital technologies in the animal nutrition world never ceases to evolve. Informed decision-making based on digital capacities and data collection keeps on proving to be faster, more precise, and more complex, boosting productivity and efficiencies. I asked the senior executives what their digital transformation experiences were in 2021 and how they see the road ahead. On M&A, during the global COVID-19 pandemic, most companies in the animal nutrition sector took a step back and reviewed their portfolios, reassessed their strategies, and looked at mergers and acquisitions where they saw they had competitive advantages. Consolidation in the industry kept on going in 2021. However, the feedback we were getting from the market suggests that valuations are very high. So we asked the senior executives for their thoughts. On the topic of supply chain risks, much has been said about global supply disruption in Feedinfo and in other media. In the report, we look at the accumulation of different problems faced by the animal nutrition industry. One of the root causes is not having a precise understanding of the real levels of demand in advance. Customers can be reluctant to cover their needs sufficiently too far in advance, and suppliers may not be willing or have the capacity to produce more ahead of time either. I asked the senior executives how we as an industry can better work together, what we can do to better anticipate future demand and further offset the big pressure points such as freight, raw materials, and energy costs, as well as labor availability. Regarding China's influence, recent months have really accentuated the relative dependency the sector has on China. And with the Chinese New Year and the Winter Olympics also coming soon, China will continue to be a dominating force in the animal nutrition supply chain in the foreseeable future. So I asked the participants the following questions. Isn't it time to invest more in local operations and reduce China's influence on the supply chain? Can the sector ever be in a position where it can afford to source less from China? For animal welfare, consumers continue to pressure retailers and food producers to improve conditions and the treatment of food animals, a trend set to increasingly influence the supply chain. Consumers in general want to know that the animal protein they consume is in line with their personal values. The industry knows what it is doing, and animals are well looked after. But some consumers are pushing for more transparency, and others wonder if animal welfare can actually be measured. I asked the senior executives to share their thoughts on this. Sustainability has never been more crucial. 2021 events like the EU Green Deal, the Global Methane Pledge, or even COP26 are putting animal agriculture front and center in political leaders' minds. More likely than not, in Europe and around the world, the animal production supply chain will be brought under the spotlight and will be urged to adhere to a strict sustainability agenda, which will include measurable environmental targets, as well as perhaps pressure to communicate to the world some net zero goals. Activist organizations have once again been very vocal in naming food and agriculture production as being harmful to the environment. They appeal to political leaders and consumers by using society's communication channels in smart ways. The senior executives shared ideas on how we, as a united industry, can counter-argue just as vocally and aim to shift opinions. Finally, behind the Netflix story is the idea of the animal nutrition sector needing to control the narrative more. It is increasingly important that the sector controls its narrative and not always be in a position of defense. Perhaps it is time to bring the narrative to the misguided public. And why not on video content streaming services, which are a staple in millions of households, and where some of the damage has been done with several controversial documentaries such as Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy, or Rotten. With some of the senior executives, we decided to do a bit of role playing, with the executives in the part of the storytellers and myself playing the role of a Netflix producer taking note of their ideas. I asked them to imagine an upcoming meeting with Netflix to create a documentary series that would give exposure to the good work going on in the animal nutrition and health industry. And there you go. The report was certainly a challenge to put together, but it was well worth it. The end result is nearly 50 pages of timely insight. Make sure to check it out on Feedinfo. Thanks for tuning into this video. Feel free to share your comments and like it on social media. See you soon and all the best for 2022.